Hello everybody, welcome back. Today, we're done with the showcases, we're done with the collections. We are back to reviewing brand new cars. And today, that review, as I hinted at in my collection video, will be on the Mercedes. Okay, why are all these Bburagos dusty on the inside? Like seriously, like,
hey yo, what the fuck?
That's inside. That's inside. I always rub the top of the box. I don't know. Anyway, though. Mercedes W15 driven by Lewis Hamilton. Now, it has been a very long time since I reviewed a Lewis Hamilton car, or I did a proper review of a Lewis Hamilton car. The last time was the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix, the championship winning Mercedes. That was a long time ago. I do own the 2022 Mercedes. This is still in box. It's not as dusty inside, even though this car is like 2 years, 3 years older than the other one. But I bought this one at Target, so I don't know if that has anything to really do with the dust, the factory conditions. I'm sure these are all built in Hong Kong. The reason it's been so long since I reviewed a Lewis Hamilton diecast is because it actually goes all the way back to this car right here, the 2021 Mercedes. I could absolutely not find the Lewis Hamilton version of this car when it was brand new. So I had to get the Valtteri Bottas, and I think I got this off of AliExpress. It's a website I don't typically buy these cars from. But ever since, 2021, the Lewis Hamilton has been really difficult for me to find. And so when I wanted to do a review of the Mercedes, in 2022, I found the George Russell a lot quicker than I found the Lewis Hamilton. I bought this car online. You can see it's got no driver. I don't know if... I'm sure eventually I saw Lewis Hamilton online, but I didn't end up buying it until I found it at Target months after I would have got this car. And I don't generally like reviewing the same car twice. By the same brand, If I've already done a full video about George Russell and this Mercedes, then I'm not really going to go back and do another full video about the same car, Bburago, just a different driver, And the 2023 Mercedes also, I haven't seen the 2023 Lewis Hamilton in stores. It's another car I would have got at Target because it's got the driver in it. I haven't seen this one in stores. I've seen it online, but I've already done a video on this car, so yeah, I haven't felt the need to pick that Lewis Hamilton up. But all that's in the past. I said I don't like making videos about the same car twice, but I ought to make at least one video about this Lewis Hamilton instead of wasting all my time talking about the past. So let's jump into this car, and I'm actually going to do this on camera. Just kind of want to see how this comes out with all the dust, seemingly, inside of it. One thing I've sort of casually mentioned in the past few videos is that the Bburago boxes, I like the colors on this. I like this sort of turquoise. I like this. It pops, I think it's a good package design. Very, very cool. But there's nothing to really see here. Let's see, is the car all dusty? Kind of. I don't think it's as bad as the outside of the box really looked. Wow, we've actually got a kind of a fragile piece here. That's actually pretty rare. I think this little radio antenna is on the other Bburagos as well, but it's a little bit thicker. So it's a very kind of... Be cautious of that, I'd say, if you end up buying this. Here it is in its enhanced glory, the 2024 Lewis Hamilton Mercedes F1 W15, or I think it's probably just called the W15. This is a very, very interesting car because it combines the black livery and the silver livery. And when this first was revealed, I saw a lot of people talking negatively about this livery. They did not really like how Mercedes sort of went about combining their two styles of livery, at least their two styles of livery as of late. Of course, if you need a refresher, which I shouldn't give you because we should be looking at this car, but yeah, 2022 Mercedes all silver, 2023 Mercedes all black. And personally, I was a fan of the black Mercedes in 2020 and 2021. I don't remember what I said about this car when I first reviewed it. Oh, look at that. This one's kind of fragile too. Anyway, I'm not a huge fan of this livery, mainly because I know it's just carbon fiber. It doesn't look too bad on the Bburago. I'd be curious to see what a Mini Champs or a Spark looks like, but in 2020 and 2021, there weren't a lot of all black or primarily black cars, so it was kind of unique. But now, you know, in 2023 and 2024, there are a lot of black cars. And so having an all black car is not particularly unique. I mean, I think the Sauber was primarily black. The Alpine, this is just for 2024. McLaren had a lot of black. Of course, the Red Bull isn't black, but it's all dark blue, you know? So I actually like this a little bit more than I like the 2023 livery, just because at least there's something, you know, to stick it out from the rest of the grid. And this car was also a lot more memorable than the previous two Mercedes. I think it was a lot more successful, or at least better, had its moments. I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look at the diecast itself. I've been blabbering for so long. Of course, we got that loose piece here. Suspension arms, steering arms, I guess you'd say. There's detail right here on these bottom ones, but these upper ones don't really have any detail. Worth noting. The halo actually does have detail for the winglet on the top of it. I don't think it's a separate piece. It's probably just built into the mold, yeah. But it is pronounced. That's pretty cool. I do like the paneling detail on this car. The line work between the body panels is not something you always see on Bburago cars. We've also got the vents here. For some reason, the Red Bulls don't really have the body paneling anymore. At least the last year's Red Bull did not. This Enos, I have no idea how you pronounce it, but it's very obviously a sticker. You can see where it kind of ends and the painting on the bodywork starts. So that looks a little dirty. It doesn't look amazing. It's really dusty underneath the floor here and between the floor and the side pod, or whatever's left of the side pod. Remember the side podless thing here? Yeah, that was pretty unique. Is this car? I don't think. Technically, it might be side podless. Yeah, Mercedes dropped that for this year. No more side podless Mercedes. And here's the rear wing. As always, ooh, this sticker is crooked, but I can no longer make fun of the sticker placement. Oh, this one, I could actually probably peel it off. It looks like it's peeling up a bit. Yeah, you know, it doesn't look too bad. I think, here's the front wing. I didn't really look at that. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. This little winglet is molded in detail. Not too bad, I think, on this Mercedes car. Of course, 2024, or I guess just for Lewis Hamilton in general, I think I cannot be the only one that maybe thought the 2021 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix was going to be his last win ever. No one would have thought that in 2021, but as time went on, it started to look like that. That's one thing I think that's very interesting about racing, I guess just sports in general though, is most drivers, most athletes win their final race, win their final game without knowing it's their last. And that almost happened to Lewis Hamilton. But of course, he took the victory, took his first win since 2021 in this car in the British Grand Prix. You almost couldn't write a script better than that. And he also won the Belgium Grand Prix after George Russell got disqualified. So a 2-win season for Lewis Hamilton in 2024. And this is a pretty solid Bburago car to celebrate the success that this car saw. It's kind of crazy. This Mercedes car won 4 races and finished 4th in the constructors standings. It's something that I certainly haven't talked about a lot on this channel, but 2024, you know, these regulations, it took a while, but I think they've achieved their goal in bringing the fields together. We had 4 teams capable of winning on any given week. especially in the second half of the season. That's something that I really liked about 2024. I wish they didn't have like the fall break, because it's sort of, I think it was before or after Circuit of the Americas. I can't remember, but I'm thinking it was before. I don't remember. It was sometime around there. But they had another month off that kind of killed the momentum, I think, of the season. But yeah, I think 2024 was a great season. Even in 2020 and 2021, even though there were 4 or 5 teams that ended up winning in those years, they kind of got lucky, you know. AlphaTauri, McLaren, they had their days, you know, but they were not competitive week to week for wins. It was really only Mercedes and Red Bull, so it's cool to have 4 teams competing for wins like we did in 2024, and I hope that continues. I just noticed that this is a sticker too. I feel like that's not the first time that's ever happened. The 2022 Mercedes also has it, although I think it's a little bit more obvious on the 2022 car than it is on this one. This will be the final Mercedes for Lewis Hamilton. He dropped a bombshell before the season, announced he was going to go to Ferrari. So, yeah, a lot to celebrate here. A very dominant combination, Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. It'll be curious. I'm super curious to see how he's going to do for Ferrari, and I'm very excited to review the Lewis Hamilton Ferrari Bburago car when that comes out. Here are the 3 Mercedes under this rules generation, this rules package, 2022, 2023, and 2024. George Russell also had a pretty solid season for Mercedes last year, winning 2 races. One was kind of on luck, the Austrian Grand Prix, but just went out and absolutely blitzed everybody in the Las Vegas Grand Prix. That was a fun one to see. As for this diecast, I think it's pretty good. I like this livery a lot better than the 2021. I just don't like, you know, I just am not a huge fan of the all-black Mercedes for Bburago, I think. So the silver on this car spices it up a little bit. The decal right here is not that good, but the rest of them, pretty solid. We've got kind of the hallmark, I guess, of Bburago printing, where it kind of gets all checkered as it fades into the black here. And the Petronas logo also, it looks a little bit like a Friday special, like they kind of muddied it up a little bit. But other than that, it's a pretty solid looking car. I mean, I guess the suspension looks kind of broken right here. I have no idea what happened there. Maybe I should stop looking at this car as I continue to find faults in it. If you're a fan of Bburago, this one does the job. The printing is pretty good. I think I've said this for a while. I think Bburago get the Mercedes cars right year after year. Even though I don't like this livery as much, they still got it right. And I still frequently think back to this car right here, the 2019 Bburago Mercedes, as being one of my favorites. And I think it's kind of crazy to think, you know, there was a time where Bburago did not make Mercedes every year, even though they were the best. So it's really cool to see that Mercedes is a constant release now. And of course, we've got a bunch of other teams that are constant releases as well. So that is going to do it for this video. What do you think of the Mercedes W15? And what do you think Lewis Hamilton is going to do at Ferrari in 2025? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like on this video. Subscribe. I've got more reviews coming. You may have already seen what I'm going to do next. Hint, hint, it was in this video somewhere. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.